Hello everyone, and welcome to part 2 of our special Train Talk series looking at every commuter railroad in the United States. As a quick recap, in part 1, we traveled along the eastern seaboard looking at 10 different operations in one of the busiest regions in the country. We left off in Florida and will now continue our journey as we take a look at the different railroads in the central portion of the country. There aren't as many dense metropolitan areas here, but there are still plenty of cities with important commuter rail operations. We'll begin in the Chicago area, sweeping south and then west as we push toward the Rocky Mountains. There's a total of 8 more railroads to look at today, so let's begin. We'll start out with the biggest commuter operation for this region and one of the biggest overall in North America. Metra is the primary commuter railroad for Chicago, Illinois and the surrounding metropolitan area. The system is massive, consisting of 13 rail lines that stretch as far north as Kenosha, Wisconsin, as far west as Aurora and Elgin, and as far south as Joliet and Manhattan. In all, Metra trains operate over a total of nearly 500 miles of track. 4 different downtown stations in Chicago serve Metra commuter trains. Millennium Station along Lake Michigan serves the 3 lines that make up the Metra electric trains to South Chicago, University Park, and Blue Island. A little to the west, LaSalle Street Station is home to Rock Island Line trains bound for Joliet. Union Station in the heart of downtown is by far the busiest, hosting 6 different Metra lines as well as all Chicago-bound Amtrak trains. Metra trains from Union Station include the Southwest services, Heritage Corridor, and BNSF lines from the south of the terminal and the Milwaukee District North, Milwaukee District West, and North Central services departing to the north. The 4th station, Ogilvie Transportation Center, is served by the remaining 3 Union Pacific District services, those being the Union Pacific North, West, and Northwest lines. Most of these trains are run by Metra with the exception of the BNSF line to Aurora, which is run by BNSF railway crews, and the 3 Union Pacific District lines, which are currently operated by the Union Pacific Railroad but are in the process of switching over to full Metra control. Ridership on the entire system was over 23.7 million for 2022. Fares on Metra are organized into 10 zones with one-way travel within a single zone priced at $4 and one-way travel through all 10 zones costing $9.50. Schedules vary by line, but most routes see daily service with the exception of the Heritage Corridor, the Southwest Service, and the North Central Service lines, which do not offer any weekend service. Metra's entire fleet of passenger cars is made up of gallery-style commuter coaches. The cars used on the electric lines are self-propelled electrical multiple unit versions of the gallery cab control coach. There are a wide variety of different diesel-electric locomotives in the Metra fleet. Among the oldest are various F40PH and F40PHM units built by EMD. Metra also purchased some newer Motive Power Inc. MP36 PH series diesels. In addition to these, Metra has a growing fleet of used locomotives. Several F59PH and F59PHI types have been acquired that formerly worked for GO Transit in Toronto, Ontario, as well as Amtrak. Most recently, Metra is in the process of acquiring a fleet of rebuilt SD70 Mac freight units that have been modified for passenger use. Commuter service in Chicago dates back well over 100 years. For several decades, the Chicago and Northwestern, the Milwaukee Road, the Burlington route, and the Rock Island all ran commuter trains to and from Chicago. In 1974, the Chicago Regional Transportation Authority was formed to fund and manage the commuter services in the Chicago metropolitan area. Within a few years, brand new equipment was ordered to supplement tired and otherwise worn-out fleets. The Metra name was formally adopted by the Chicago RTA Commuter Rail Division in 1985. Also serving Chicago is the Chicago, Southshore, and South Bend Railroad, known today simply as the Southshore Line. This is a single-line commuter railroad traveling between Chicago and South Bend, Indiana, by way of the South Shore of Lake Michigan. The route is 90 miles in length. Some of the line through Michigan City, Indiana is currently under construction for a track improvement project. Southshore Line fares are divided into 11 zones, with one-way fares ranging from $3.75 to $14.25. Trains run daily with increased service on weekdays. Ridership for 2022 was 1.4 million. Southshore trains are made up of electric multiple unit cars. Some of these are older single-level cars, with the remainder being bi-level gallery cars that are nearly identical to those used on the Metra electric lines. The Chicago, South Shore, and South Bend Railroad began operations in the first decade of the 20th century as an interurban railroad hauling both passengers and freight. In 1989, in the wake of financial troubles, the commuter train operations were spun off to the publicly owned Northern Indiana Commuter Transportation District. Today, the original Chicago, South Shore, and South Bend Railroad continues to provide freight services along this rail corridor, as well as other lines in the area. Moving south and a little east, we travel to Nashville, Tennessee. The We Go Star, formerly known as the Music City Star, runs 30 miles from Nashville east to Lebanon, Tennessee. Service is provided on weekdays during commuter rush hours, with trains running in both directions. Tennessee's Department of Transportation manages the service. One-way fares range from $2 to $5.25. Ridership for the Star was just short of 100,000 in 2022. The railroad right-of-way is owned by the Nashville and Eastern Railroad, a freight carrier. All of the Star's passenger equipment was acquired used. The locomotives are former Amtrak F40PH types. All of the passenger cars are gallery-style bi-level cars that formerly ran with Metra. Music City Star operations began on September 18th of 2006. It was a low-cost startup commuter service that was meant to be a proof of concept for other potential commuter routes in the Nashville area. In fact, the Music City Star was one of the least expensive commuter railroad startups in U.S. history, costing just $41 million. Jumping back north and west, the next commuter op on the list is in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Northstar connects downtown Minneapolis with communities to the northwest, ending in Big Lake, 40 miles away. While in years past service was provided daily, ridership declines over the last few years have led to significant service cutbacks, with just 2 trains each direction on weekdays only for most of 2023. However, service levels have doubled effective October 2nd of this year. One-way fares range from $3.25 to $6.25. 2022 annual ridership numbers were a little short of 80,000. Northstar trains utilize railroad right-of-way owned by BNSF Railway. BNSF also provides operating crews for the commuter trains. The Northstar fleet consists solely of Motive Power MP36PH-3C locomotives and Bombardier bi-level commuter cars. Everything, with the exception of one locomotive, was purchased new for the startup of service. Northstar commenced operations on November 16, 2009. Long-term plans have called for expanding service further northwest to St. Cloud, Minnesota. Next, we travel to Texas for a look at the Lone Star State's sole commuter railroad. The Trinity Railway Express, or TRE, serves the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area with a 35-mile-long east-west railroad connecting the two cities. Ownership of the service is likewise split between Dallas Area Rapid Transit and Fort Worth's Trinity Metro. Both of these transit agencies operate their own hybrid rail passenger services as well, in the form of the Dallas A Train and Fort Worth's Tex Rail. TRE runs trains throughout the day 6 days a week with no regular service on Sundays. Fares are split up into just 2 zones. One-way standard fares start at $2.50. Ridership for Trinity Railway Express was nearly 1.1 million in 2022. Herzog Transit Services currently holds the operations contract for the commuter trains. TRE trains run in push-pull configuration with diesel-electric locomotives providing the power. 3 types of diesels are owned by the railroad: former Amtrak F40PH types, former GO Transit F59PH types, and F59PHI types that were purchased new. Passenger cars are bi-levels built by Bombardier Transportation. Trinity Railway Express ran its first public trips on December 30th of 1996. Originally, service was provided using leased equipment and then self-propelled rail diesel cars from Via Rail Canada. Colorado is home to the next commuter train operation. Running out of Denver, Colorado, RTD Rail is another relatively recent commuter rail startup. RTD, or Regional Transit District, is the primary public transit agency for the greater Denver area. 4 different commuter rail lines, totaling over 50 miles, emanate from Denver's Union Station. These include the A line to the airport, the B line to Westminster, the G line to Wheat Ridge, and the N line to North Thornton. These are complemented by RTD's light rail network. Trains run daily across the system with frequencies ranging from every 15 minutes to once hourly. Rail fares are broken into 4 zones, with fares ranging from $3 to $10.50. Ridership for RTD commuter rail was approaching 8 million annually in 2022. RTD commuter trains run on their own railroad right-of-way separate from all other rail traffic. This is one of only a handful of commuter train operations in the country to have its own right-of-way. All commuter trains use electrical multiple unit Silverliner 5 type cars built by Hyundai Rotem. RTD commuter rail began on April 22, 2016, with service from Denver Union Station to the airport. A few hundred miles due south of Denver is the New Mexico Rail Runner Express. The Rail Runner runs on a 97-mile-long north-south route roughly paralleling Interstate 25 from Santa Fe to Albuquerque and Belen, New Mexico. New Mexico's State Department of Transportation manages the commuter railroad. Trains run daily with reduced frequencies on weekends. There are 6 fare zones on Rail Runner, with one-way tickets ranging from $2 to $10. 2022 ridership was about 440,000. Train crews are provided by Herzog Transit Services, and the state of New Mexico owns the railroad right-of-way. Rail Runner owns a homogeneous fleet of MP36 diesel-electric locomotives and Bombardier bi-level cars. All equipment was purchased new. Service initially began on July 14, 2006, between Albuquerque and Sandoval. Service to Belen began in February of 2007 and all the way north to Santa Fe in August of 2009. For our last commuter train in the central part of the country, we move to Utah. Frontrunner is an 88-mile-long north-south commuter train line connecting the cities of Ogden, Salt Lake City, and Provo, as well as many other communities in between. Governed by the Utah Transit Authority, the Frontrunner runs 6 days a week with half-hourly frequencies throughout the day in each direction on weekdays and once-hourly on Saturdays. No Sunday service is provided. Annual ridership was approaching 3.2 million in 2022. One-way base fares for Frontrunner start at $2.50 with an add-on charge of 60 cents for each additional stop. Like Denver's RTD commuter operation, the Frontrunner runs on its own separate right-of-way free of all other rail traffic. The route was built adjacent to a pre-existing Union Pacific freight line. Similar to Rail Runner, Frontrunner operates with a passenger fleet comprised solely of MP36 locomotives and Bombardier bi-level commuter cars, all purchased new. In years past, single-level Comet-style passenger cars were used to supplement the Bombardier fleet. Frontrunner service opened for business on April 26, 2008. The initial operating segment ran between Salt Lake City and Ogden, with the line to Provo opening in December of 2012. That brings Part 2 of this mini-series to a close. In Part 3, we will finish our look at U.S. commuter rail systems as we travel all the way down the West Coast from Seattle to San Diego. If you have any questions or comments you'd like to share, leave those down below in the comments section. A special thanks to all my supporters on Patreon. If you would like to receive notifications every time I post to YouTube, click on the subscribe button and select the Receive All Notifications option by ringing the bell. For even more great content, check out my other social media pages. And remember, every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, there's an all-new railroading adventure headed your way right here on the YouTube channel. I'll see you in the next episode for Part 3 as we look at commuter trains along the West Coast. That's it for now. Until next time, I'm Mike Armstrong. I'll see you down the line. Thanks for watching.